everyone, what's going on? It's the Tea and Mortgage Podcast, episode number 29, with your fearless host, John Coleman. John, how are you?
Thanks, Norm. You've bullied me into doing this on video again today, so I had to put on my posh shirt and all that stuff. But hopefully we'll provide some good information for everyone today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we covered this topic only about 7 months ago, and we were trying to, before the podcast, figure out if it was a year ago, if it was 3 months ago, but it comes around quickly, and that's the topic of AI and mortgage, huh?
Yeah, well, would you believe it? It's I think in the last year and 18 months, this will be our third time
Yeah.
discussing this particular topic. And it's not because we've got nothing else to talk about. It's more a case of I don't know about you, but I just feel the world is changing at a rate of knots. And it's exciting and scary all at the same time to wonder, where are we all going to be in 2 years? As you know, my philosophy has always been technology driven, and I'm embracing it as best I can. But with a sort of smidgen of fear as to wonder, am I going to bring myself out of a job at some point? But for the moment, it's really, really exciting. And the speed of change, the speed of where things that were just not possible, things I would have asked my freelance developers, oh, can I do this 2 years ago? And one of the guys came to me 18 months ago and said, John, I think we can do this now. And then on every almost 3 months, actually, the thing you wanted now is now doable. So it's absolutely
it's pretty incredible. Yeah,
very to the point that I think I was telling you that I was having a conversation with this freelancer, and I was kind of hypothetically saying to him, God, I wonder at what point will the human beings basically start asking ChatGPT or whatever mechanism for health advice, right? And I'm just wondering, right? And right, and this was no word of lie. He turned around and said to me, well, actually, currently he was building an AI system for a vet, who basically would get his clients to go online to his system, talk about their pet or animal, and the ChatGPT will be diagnosing the pet. So that's the bit that really scares me, by the way. Like
even with the health, now a big thing for people is to get their blood work done and all their markers. What's your testosterone? What's your blah blah blah. And there's a health workup of like 3-4 pages of all these things, and AI could optimize and say, okay, take this vitamin, do this. You need to improve with this supplement, and so there's a lot to it. And to your point, you're saying, AI is going to take our job. And I heard someone say it best. They said, AI is not going to take your job. The person who understands and uses AI is going to take your job. So I think that's where we're at now.
And that's ultimately, I know I kind of said that, I wouldn't say flippantly, but sort of as a sort of a fear that certain people have. I am very much of a view that, but certainly my particular industry, and in any walk of life, a system like AI is going to get you to a point. It's the differences, it's the nuances, it's understanding if certain things change, and human empathy as well. Words of encouragement, words of talking through people when bad things happen, or banks have asked for different. So that's never going to go away. So it is just a case of, as you say, whoever embraces this will become the ultimate customer-facing operation, whereby everything is slick, but every customer, and this is what I'm ultimately striving for, every customer feels, my God, I must be their only client. They're nearly available for me 24 hours a day. That's the sense of journey you want to bring people on, because buying a house is stressful, right? And the reason people don't go directly to the bank, well, I think about 50% would go back. I think 50% use people like myself, but the people that they want someone on their side, right? And I don't think that's ever going to change. From what I'm just being honest in terms of my analysis, because even if they're great AI systems, each bank may have its own system, but they're not going to tell you about all the other banks. So you still need someone to understand the nuances of all the different banks. So, but I get a huge amount of joy in every kind of incremental improvement in service that we can offer our clients.
It's interesting because like you said, we did 3 of these podcasts or conversations about AI in the past 18 months. And when we started, it was sort of like, oh, AI is a switch, and you flip it and everything takes over. And that's couldn't be furthest from the truth. It's just little by little, this tool, this enhancement, this time saving, something resource for your process. And so it's little by little integrating these things. And there's places AI doesn't work or doesn't really help. But the best way that I've heard it as well, and I use this with a lot of my financial advisor clients, is AI is an amazing caddy, but it's not the golfer. And that's the human element. You still have to be the
I love
golfer,
that.
but it
Love
makes
that
the best
phrase.
caddy in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah. That's geez, um, that's a new one. I like it. I'm going to write that down and use it as my own norm. I hope you don't mind.
No, please do.
Okay.
But yeah, and tell us a little, about some of the advancements that and some of the things you're implementing in your business to. I think that the key is that you're doing these things for a better client journey, a smoother process, a faster process, so you have more time to invest personally and and give the human touch and the human element to each client.
Yeah, well, I think we definitely mentioned this previously, and this was kind of the start of, I wouldn't say the AI journey, but our my technology journey, because that started beforehand in terms of just making us much efficient. But the biggest blockage in this process for anybody is the paperwork, right? And then one of my freelancers came to me, John, and said he was at a seminar, and I'd always been talking to him, is there any way we could help with the system? He said, John, I think this can be done. So we spent a year building the system whereby when my clients upload the paperwork, AI basically checks it and will confirm for 90% of the paperwork if it's right or if it's wrong. Okay. That then feeds that back. Like, if I was honest, it's working better for us at this point than it is working for the clients, and I'll explain that in a second, because there's still a level of technical understanding that's required. For us, means we're getting the information as to what might be missing in a quicker way, so we can feed that back to the clients. Now we are
Hmm.
giving them the message what's missing, but clients are sometimes not always seeing that message or aren't looking at it, and we're not delivering it. This is on us. We're not delivering that message to them in the best way or the easiest user. What's that UI? Is that experience, the user experience or the UI,
Hmm.
whatever that buzzword is?
Yeah, I think it's UX or
Yeah,
CX, client experience or something like that. Yeah.
well, we're not. We're it's so what I've built so far has made us more efficient, but hasn't probably taken away the pain point for the client. Okay, so it's still resulting in a better service because they're getting information quicker. But I'm a perfectionist here. I want, like, what I started when I wanted this was very much a real time system whereby when the clients uploaded their paperwork, they would be getting a sort of a yes, that's brilliant. No, but here's what's wrong, and they're getting it, but it's not. We haven't been able to deliver it in the best
Yeah.
way, right? And I'm just putting my hands up to that, just from what I've seen. What I'm now currently building, Norman, it's kind of exciting, scary. I'm trying to now build. If you get your head around this, it's crazy. An AI avatar, right? So if the avatar will basically, the client, if they've got a question about, okay, well, I can't upload my payslip because of the password, and the system won't take it, right? Well, the AI will answer in a video format,
Yeah.
showing them what to do. Okay, so it's like having your own personal assistant there with you in the moment, right? For me, that would just lead to so much speed, but less frustration with paperwork because it is frustrating. Okay, um, and then what I'm looking at doing is building a kind of when they've uploaded all their paperwork, and say some of the documents need to be manually checked, because that does happen with the odd one, because
Yep.
you can't build a system that captures everything. You can build a system that captures about 90%, but
Yeah.
then having a video at the end of the day saying we've checked your paperwork, here's what's missing, and here's a video of what you need to do. Right, and that's not there yet, but apparently,
It's darn close, though. It's darn close, right?
well, I have someone at the moment working on a proof of concept of it. The second piece can definitely be done. The first piece is I'm trying to make it happen. Now it could take me 3 to 6 months to get there. But what I really just want is a system where people's paperwork isn't the biggest pain. Now, there's still,
Yeah.
you can never take that away because, and this what still annoys me, some of the banks in 2025 with their statements have to be sent by the post, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you think about that, it's just mind blowing, right?
It's the
So,
definition of inefficiency and opening the window or the door for errors or all sorts of things that can go
absolutely.
wrong,
And
right?
here's
Yeah.
what happens on a frequent basis. They, someone will, yeah, can we get a statement? And the statement will be told as, oh yeah, that will be in the post. You'll get it in the next 5 to 10 business days, right? Then nobody, they don't, the statement doesn't come, right? So then they have to ring again. And then by the time it does come, a lot of the other paperwork has gone out of date because suddenly we're into another month on new payslip, other bank statements. So yeah, so as I said, I'm building a system to try to make it as easy as possible. I'm still not going to ever claim that we're building a
Yeah.
system that's going to, because there's still, like, I'm sure with time some of the banks will improve their own personal technology processes to help in the whole situation. But for the moment,
Like
all I can do is my own bit, you know.
one of my financial planner, talking about the banks, one of my financial planner clients, he talks about the technology adoption and AI for most financial advisory firms. And he says they're almost like mocking them. He says they're bringing you tomorrow's technology. No, no, they're bringing you yesterday's technology tomorrow. Meaning, right? They'll get there, but it's too little, too late, too slow, and it's outdated. So the banks will never outdo what you're putting together, and that's the benefit to your clients.
Well, it's an absolute benefit to client, but we're still, our paymasters to a point are still the banks, right?
Yeah.
And there is a bank that's come out there this year. A new bank has come into the market at the end of last year called New, and they are technically absolutely incredible, right? Their
Mm,
systems are so slick. They're sometimes we're getting approvals within 2 hours of an app. So it's apps. So they've taken their technology and belief in technology to the nth degree, and it's an example of what can be done. But obviously, the bigger institutions, well, they're huge institutions, so it's like trying to move an oil tanker. It moves at a very very slow rate, shall we say? So, and because there's lots of expense in trying to change systems, and there's
yeah.
probably lots of add-on things that you and I wouldn't think of, but they need to be looking at the whole thing. So it's
Yeah, they can't use tools. They have to build tools. They can't just, sign up for this AI service that works great or bring on a AI consultant or someone to build a custom tool. They have to build a whole massive system for their whole bank, and all their clients and because of compliance and everything like that and security. And so it's heavy lifting whenever they implement something, but that's why people should use a mortgage broker like yourself. And
agreed.
yeah.
And you always do hear the banks sort of saying, yeah, we're going to be. I'm sure that the API, for example, is a term where you can get one system to be able to talk to another, and you keep hearing banks, oh yeah, we're going to have this our API system working soon. And I've been hearing that for over a year with some of the banks, right? So their technology change are moving is very, very, very slow,
Mhm.
which it from my business point of view, it's good to a point, but I'd still prefer if they were giving a better service because my view on this is while the, I don't view other brokers as my competition, right?
Mhm.
Because I believe if the service of the broker industry was all at the same level, right, then why would anyone go anywhere near a bank to start with when they have a broker who basically can give them the choice of every bank and give them tailored, specific, custom advice that no bank will ever be able to give because they only speak for them. They only speak for themselves. So I would really like if the banks were all at the right level from a technology point of view, and the brokers were all at the same level for a technology point of view. So then you have a much better system for everybody, right? And then suddenly you have like I'm not greedy. I believe there's business for all the brokers out there. So I'm not looking to dominate the
Yeah.
brokerage world.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just setting my own standards or setting our own standards. And we live and die by our own our own standards. But if we can kind of, what's that phrase? A rising tide lifts all, and sort of
Lifts all boats. Yeah.
yeah, lifts all boats. So that would be my view, and I'm pushing this the whole time. And any other broker friends I meet with, I speak with, probably boring them to tears, but I'm talking about all the stuff I'm doing in the background, trying to help them. Some are more interested, and others are kind of, well, I've been doing it this way for the last 15 years. I'm going to continue to do it that way. So, like, there's always your kind of your early adapters, your kind of people who come on slowly, and then you've got the people who are just you can
Some will, some
in,
never will, and some will
streaming,
eventually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think there's a great advantage for my business
Yeah.
in being an early adapter here. So
Yeah.
and I will continue to embrace it. And there was one other thing that I'm not sure where, just from a time point of view, in terms of, like, we would obviously have a conversation with a client, get a full understanding as to where they're at. And then all the banks have their own different calculators, and we would basically have to put the information in and then create a report that then goes out to the bank. Now, that would normally taking us about cuts of 2 days to go through it all to make sure when that roadmap that I believe in, that gets the core of our offering, basically. But we can now get that done within 1 day, sometimes
Yeah.
even on the back of this, right? And then ultimately, where we were, when someone is ready to go to the bank, we were probably taking 4 hours to analyze everything in terms of their say pay slips, their salary certs on the bank, all their bank accounts. Well, we can now get that done within an hour, right? So the time saving is phenomenal, and I can see
Yeah.
that only getting better and better. So that, to the point whereby um, the level of work we need to do, because again, it's back to the nuances. If you can get AI to do 85% of the heavy lifting, right, then you come in with your area of expertise, knowing the
Yeah.
little nuances, knowing the little differences, that can give absolutely quality advice to clients in a much quicker time frame. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to achieve here.
That's a great point. The other thing I was thinking about, knowing your business and when you were talking, Ireland is very international, and you have so many expats or immigrants who are moving there and buying, and that means a lot of different languages. And so, and people who aren't from, even if they speak English, they're not familiar with the Irish system. So, anything you could do with education, like you're saying, these interactive videos that, it's almost like a chat responder with 99% of the questions someone might have, but in a video form. Well, with AI, you could instantly change that to a host of languages. And so it's not just, if someone is from India, if they're from South Africa, well, South Africa's
Brazil,
English, I think, but
yeah,
yeah,
Brazil,
but
uh, India, and
Brazil, or yeah.
Brazil would be our two biggest um, non-European.
Hmm.
So we have a huge, we have a team designated. Well, I have Brazilians, 5 Brazilians working with me. We just focus completely um,
Yeah.
on the Brazilian market. But India then is another big segment, and we are obliged, from a compliance point of view, for any non-mother speaking English speakers, we're obliged to basically make sure that we ask them the question: do you have someone with you if you want? Because a mortgage is a huge thing, and it will
Yeah.
essentially require us. It's called as a vulnerable customer, and obviously, in most cases, vulnerable customer would suggest that maybe there was a death in the family or a serious illness or something like that. But also, when you're trying to do something big in a language that isn't your own, do you have someone that speaks the language? That you want
Yeah.
someone there? Now, we have, from the Brazilian side, we obviously have native speakers, so we can translate. But we are then obliged, and this is where AI is a great assistance. Any advice that we give in Portuguese, from a compliance point of view, we also then have to have a version of that in English. So
Yep.
obviously using a system to take that advice and put it in,
Yeah.
so that the advice is logged both in Portuguese and English. Which if we didn't have that, you can only imagine that would be we'd have to give advice in English, because it's all the advice that needs to be recorded in English. That would cause um,
Yeah.
some time issue, shall we say.
The other interesting thing is, and this isn't necessarily you and your business, but in general, the mortgage industry, any savings in time, efficiency, cost through the whole pipeline with the banks, with the loan processing, with everything like that, eventually could be a benefit or a cost savings to the consumer. So some things like whether it's the United States, they're using AI a lot. They're starting banks or mortgage lenders a little bit more. But for instance, there was a report that found that with AI, US lenders could reduce the loan processing by up to 40% through automation. And also underwriting was sped up and less costly. And also a big part of it was fraud detection and compliance. And so when you have all these little stopgaps within their system with AI to detect certain things, all of that you add it up, and if it saves them 20% manpower and time, and they could pass that on to the client, well, it only becomes more competitive.
Call me a cynic. Um, I'm not sure the banks would pass those savings on to the customer. I think that would go onto their bottom line. And I think choosing your battles would be my view on this. My battle would be if they can produce a better, quicker service. Um,
Yeah.
that's a win. Then you're then down to kind of, well, each bank's going to offer different rates, and they'll all be positioning themselves accordingly, right? So, but yeah, in an ideal world, everything you say would be the benefits would trickle down. I'm slightly cynical to think that the banks would.
You don't think banks are out for the good of humanity? What are you talking about, John? Well, think
Uh,
about it like this. You always say competition is good, right? And if one bank rolls out some efficiencies through AI, all the others are going to take notice and
Absolutely, and there are probably already are like the bank that has come to the market would be probably
Mhm.
now they wouldn't be they'd be more expensive on a rate point of view, right? But
Yep.
they're going to shake up the market to a degree. I think I've mentioned that Revolut are in theory due to come to the market
Yeah.
later in the year, and again they have a massive advantage if they do come in that they are obviously well they're in everyone's phone. Everyone has Revolut. Well, not saying everyone, but a significant percentage. So I would imagine that they'll be a technology based version but they're still going to need the advice piece, and I still don't know how they figure that out. But again, more competition. Um, but as it stands, the three main banks here do have. It's not a monopoly, but I think it's a duopoly. When there's three big banks, what do you call that? It's not monopoly. It's not duopoly. Is it? Oligopoly?
A,
Is it?
a triopoly? I have no idea.
But anyway,
A triumvirate of
they
you know.
probably about 80% of the market, right?
Yeah.
So so getting them to move from they guard their market share very very carefully, right? Now, unless the new banks that are coming in that have all these AI savings can then ultimately compete on a rate point of view, right? When that day happens, when the slickest operational machine comes in and is also offering the best rate in the market, then the big boys will have to move in line with that, or else they lose market share in
Yeah.
a very,
Yeah.
very quick way. So for the moment, that's not happening because the slick banks are at the minute are more expensive and ultimately that price will win out in 90% of the case. If two banks are offering the same amount of money, price wins. If one bank is offering more money and as a first time buyer, well, they'll probably go with the more money if their need is immediate to buy a house, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but if in time that they can become more competitive on a rate point of view, well, then it is of only benefit to everybody, right? So,
Yeah.
but we'll see where it all pans
We'll
out.
see. Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll be doing one of these about AI again, and maybe some announcements from you and what you're doing, maybe industry updates a lot sooner than 1 year from now, huh?
I would actually believe that will be because this world is changing at a rate of knots, and I would definitely think we'll be adding more to the AI. What we could call it. Someone has used the term. I'm building a bot army, right? So, and the JC bot army. I don't know. It's certainly, I don't know, it's exciting, but I'm still nervous about it in terms of, as I said, uh, where does it all end, right? And my view on it is I want to help all the people that work with me, I want to make sure that they don't feel threatened by it. Okay, because a lot of the things we're doing is probably reducing the time that they would need, and then suddenly they think, oh, there'll be a need for me. Well, my view on this is, oh, absolutely, there'll be a need for you, because hopefully the business plan here would be that we can do 2, 3 times the level of business because of the systems,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
same level of customer support will be there with the team because they're available, their time is available, So
Yep.
that is the
Interesting.
big picture plan, Watch this space,
Fascinating. I
Norm.
love it. Yeah. The army, the robot army is coming, but we're going to be friends with them. So we'll be on the right side of it, huh?
Absolutely. It does, like, yeah, no, you sometimes do. I don't know if you've ever had this when you might be researching a subject, right? And you are using, and it does. I have to sometimes question my own sanity, right? I do sometimes feel I'm talking to a real person. I'm like, John, come on, this isn't real.
Here's something you laugh at people, and
Yeah,
I do this. It's idiotic, but I'm also very old fashioned, where I
yeah,
say please and thank you. And they
yeah.
recently came out, and I think it was ChatGPT or whoever the head guy is, says it costs them tens of millions of dollars every month just to have built-in extra responses and people having to filter through the please and thank yous. And it's like they actually don't want people to say please and thank you because it takes them longer and costs them more. But people like
Okay,
me
oh,
just
that's just
I
funny.
can't lose the politeness.
No, I'd be the same. And it's funny. I even think it's got my sense of humor. So I sometimes would have a joke with myself and put it in writing and make myself laugh. But it's generating a response in a kind of a, okay, this guy gets my humor, which is even more
That
scary.
might be question. Yeah, you might question your very robotic, machine-like humor more than anything, huh?
Oh God.
Well, this was awesome, John. But thank you. And T and Mortgage 29. Anything else before we sign off?
From my end, no, really, other than any questions, as always, looking for that. The roadmap is obviously our Bible. So if anyone wants a roadmap, well, my details will be with this. So just get in touch or any specific queries, and we take it from there. But I'm hoping that the world doesn't change so fast that we need to do this again in 3 months. So every 6 months, I think is a fair.
6 months is good. Yeah, we'll be
Is
good to
good,
go. But all right, everyone. T and Mortgage. Take care. See you next month, and then we'll talk about this in 6 months.
Excellent. Cheers, Norm. Thank you.